Gators, greetings, salutations, and welcome to our workshop on today, October 23rd, 2020, put on none other than the Gator Success Center. And we are so thankful for you all to be with us today. I wanted to share a video with you all in the beginning of this presentation, talking about some different resources to kind of help with stress. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we've had so many different students who have talked to us about different things that they've been going through and how they have been affected by the pandemic. But we are so thankful that y'all have come with us today and to be here with us as we're going to be talking about test taking strategies. You know, we've already talked about so many different topics in the past couple of weeks with our workshops, and these workshops are designed to help you and equip you with the knowledge and skills to help you become a better student and a better Gator at UHD. And today we're going to be talking about test taking. Do you have stress whenever you're taking a test? Do you know how to study for your exams? What are the things that you're going to be doing when you're taking an exam? Those are the types of things that we're going to be talking about today. And I have on my different world glasses for today's workshop, because we are living in a different world and a different time during this pandemic. But, you know, in all things, we're still going to strive for greater success and excellence in everything that we do. Well, we do have our Gator Success staff. If this is your first time with us, I will let them introduce themselves for the very first time. If you haven't seen them, we have our fearless leader with us as well, and our academic success coaches. So if you all are, if you want to, you can come on and greet yourself and greet everyone that's in attendance.
Good afternoon, Gators. My name is Dr. Sylvester Caesar. Welcome to our workshop. This is about our fourth or fifth workshop that we are putting on for students. The material is very, very helpful, and I hope that when you leave, you have information that will guide you through the rest of the semester and actually throughout your academic journey. So happy Friday and great to be here.
Hi, everybody. I just want to thank y'all for joining. My name is Michelle, and I'm an academic success coach. And yeah, we're so happy for you to hear all these strategies, and hopefully y'all do a lot better on your next test.
All righty. So thank you again, Gator Success Center staff, for joining us and being with us. So let's go ahead and talk about different things about what y'all have been doing in your tests. Okay. We all know that you have some different types of stress when it comes to taking exams, and that's completely okay. But the biggest question that I have gotten so far is, when should you prepare for a test? And you kind of got to ask yourself, how do I prepare for a test? Do I prepare for a test the day before, the week before, or do I prepare well before? That's something that you have to kind of internalize and kind of see, how do you prepare for an exam? Because if you take your time to prepare for an exam the day before, you're going to get results that reflect that studying. You're going to get results that are going to reflect that type of studying if you do it the week before. And then you'll also get those results if you do it well in advance. The biggest thing that I want to try to tell students on today, and anytime that they have come to the Gator Success Center and been like, hey, Holiday, what are some of the things that I can do to be successful in my class? And the biggest thing that I can tell a student is to be consistent, to make sure that you're going to class every single day, or every time that you have a lecture. Go ahead and make sure that you're going to class to be consistent within your coursework. You want to make sure that you review your notes after every class and study regularly, so that you shouldn't be able to put off your test the night before. So make sure that you're studying regularly and that you're going to class every single time that you have that lecture. In addition, you want to make sure to have regular study habits, making sure that you study every day in the week leading up to the test. So the previous question was, how do you prepare for a test, or when should you prepare for a test? Well before. Because results and studies have shown that if you go ahead and try to cram for a test the day before, chances are that you won't do well on your test. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself well before and in advance, so that the test is going to actually happen. So if you know that you have a test today, I would advise to go ahead and give like a good 2 weeks to studying. Some people take a week to study for the exam. Whatever is the best method for you, you want to prepare for it. And whatever well before is your definition, or however you feel that well before works for you, do that. But make sure that you prepare well in advance for that, right? Another thing that you want to do when you're taking a test is to make sure that you talk with your professor, that you visit the professor's office hours regularly in advance to the test. So if you're studying for an exam and you do it well before, you want to go ahead and talk to your professor and tell them some of the things that you've kind of studied. And if something didn't make sense, go ahead and tell them those things. Make sure that you be prepared to show them what you've already studied and your study plan for the test. So if you're going to your professor and you're saying, hey, I really don't understand this section, everything else I get, I don't understand this particular part, they will be able to give you some kind of clarification on the different concepts that they've been talking about in different lectures, right? You want to make sure that you talk to them well in advance in the test, and also give them some of the things that you've studied so that you won't go in there empty-handed. One of the things that professors do not like is when you just go to their office hours and you just be like, hey, help me out. That's not how we do things, right? In a perfect world, we would like for that to help happen, but professors want to see that you made that effort to actually learn the material that they've been lecturing about for the past couple of weeks, and so that you could kind of find a middle ground to be able to do that. So be prepared to show them what you have already studied and show them your study plan for the rest of the test. And make sure that you're asking for clarification on concepts in which you're struggling with. So if you're struggling with something, go ahead and communicate that with your professors. And find an email, they say fish are our friends, not food. Well, in this particular example, professors are our resources. They're not our enemies. So we want to use them as a viable resource when it comes to taking an exam. Make sure that you consider every assignment practice, right? That you want to use homework and quizzes as a way to study for your exams throughout the term. Make sure that you are using quizzes, chapter tests to prepare for cumulative exams, your midterms, and your finals. And as I said, that you're checking in with your professor regularly to discuss the areas that you're struggling with. A lot of people, they just want to go and try to read the book all the time or go back over different notes. That's a good strategy. But yeah, if you're doing your homework and you're doing quizzes, that kind of serves as a refresher every single time you're going to take or study for your exam. So use those quizzes and those homeworks as practice for your exams. Also, I just want to let you all know that if you have any kind of questions at any point in time during our workshop, please utilize the chat feature. Stop me, come on to the camera, and we'll be able to discuss some things. So if you have any questions, and if I'm doing anything wrong, we had some technical difficulties last time, please go ahead and use that chat feature and let me know. All right, next thing. For the week of the exam, all study activities are not created equally. So, the same things that you study for in history is not going to be the same strategies that you're going to use in calculus. The things that you use in biology are not going to be the same things that you use in political science. So make sure that you're using the different strategies for that particular class to make sure that you're studying for that particular exam. Don't just continue to read your notes, do more with the material. So go beyond your note taking. Yeah, you've taken real good notes, you've highlighted, you've done, you've used different pens and things like that to jog your memory, but go beyond that material, right? This right says active retention of learning, interactive learning can explode long-term retention rates up to 10% or by 10 times, right? So there's passive and active ways of you studying, right? 5% are, you going to a lecture and participating, in a lecture. 10% will be reading. There's audio visual things, that's 20%, but the more active is like demonstration, discussion groups, practice by doing, and teaching others by using or teaching others the different types of materials will help you to retain that type of information. So yeah, there's different types of ways for you to study. There's 5% by just going to the lecture. But if you really want to actually retain the information, go ahead and try to teach others or join a discussion group or demonstrate the types of things that you've learned in the lecture. That will definitely help you in the long run. Right? So the day before the exam, prepare physically and emotionally for the exam. A lot of people have different types of stress when it comes to taking an exam. So physical preparation looks like this. You want to maintain regular sleep routine. You want to follow a regular exercise program, and you want to make sure that you eat right. All these types of things. A lot of people think that you could just go into a test and, if you do an all-nighter or cram before, which we don't advise, that you'll do well on exam. No, make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally, and also emotionally and physically, so that you could do well on your exam. Emotional preparation looks like this: by knowing the material, practicing that you practice relaxing during the exam, and use positive self-talk. You have no idea how many times students in the past have come to me and talked to me about the way that they psych themselves out, right? If you defeat yourself by saying negative things before you're going into the exam, then you're not going to do well. You got to say to yourself, Jason, you're going to do well on this exam because you studied that. You studied this material and you're going to do well and you're going to kill it. It sounds kind of crazy, but positive talk, use positive talk. Now, if you're going to go and start talking to yourself and then you go back and forth, that's another story for another day. But go in there and try to use positive talk when you're going in there. Like we said earlier, don't cram. Use this day to access your learning quizzes, teach the material to someone else, and make sure that you're testing your understanding of all the materials. So do not cram, right? This is the day before. This is just going to be used as a refresher. You've already, prepared well before. So make sure that you're using this as a day that you can test yourself, teach someone else the material, and access your learning through quizzes and things of that nature. Thank you so much, Karen. Yes, those affirmations. If y'all have any affirmations or anything, y'all can drop them in the chat or come onto the screen and we can talk about it. But yes, use that positive self-talk. Don't psych yourself out, because if you already psych yourself out, you're already defeated before you even come, right? Next thing, you want to care for your brain and your body. This goes back into that physical and emotional and mental preparation. You want to, like I said, get a good night rest before the exam. That cramming does not work. You need to sleep for your brain, for it to do its best work. You will perform better if you have a good breakfast before the test, while you take time to review. So please, on the days of when you have an exam, make sure that you're doing all the things that you need to be physically active and mentally ready to take that exam. A lot of people, and I've kind of been guilty of this when I was in undergrad, by using those horrible practices of cramming the night before and not getting any sleep. Find myself kind of dozing off in the exam. Don't let that be you. You're a Gator, you're resilient. Make sure you eat a good breakfast before the exam and that you get all the sleep that you need prior to. So what should you do during a test? You want to make sure that you're using your time wisely and that you're answering questions strategically and thoroughly, and that you're managing your test anxiety. And I want to pause right here, because one of the biggest things that I have seen, and I'm speaking to myself and I'm speaking for myself, is that I had really bad test anxiety. Like, I would study, but I would psych myself out whenever I would take an exam. Now, I wouldn't say that I was the best test taker, but I would try to prepare well in advance to try to be prepared for the exam and to go. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, when you're in those four walls and you're right there around your peers, and then you have your professor that gives you that exam, and you got the Scantron, and there's multiple choice, and then there's a short answer and stuff. It psychs me out. So we need to do better on managing our test anxiety, right? I want to put a pin in it, and I want to kind of show you a short video. It's probably about 8 minutes long, talking about test anxiety and how you can overcome these types of things. So I'm going to come back on screen, and we're going to be discussing more things on how you could be more successful with test taking. But right now, I just want to show you this quick video. So give me a moment to transition. All right.
Hi, I'm Thomas Frank, and this is Crash Course Study Skills. Henry Fonda was a famous actor with a career that spanned 54 years and included starring roles in classic movies like 12 Angry Men and Once Upon a Time in the West. He was one of the most well-known and successful actors of his time, bringing home an Oscar, 2 Golden Globes, and even a Grammy before retiring. So it might surprise you to learn that Fonda had a lifelong struggle with performance anxiety. In fact, even when he was 75 years old, with over half a century of acting experience under his belt, he would often throw up before beginning stage performances. But despite his anxiety and sudden lack of lunch, Fonda would still step out from behind the curtain and give the audience the great performance they expected. That's because he understood one of the unavoidable facts of life, a fact that the author Stephen Pressfield put so well in his book, The War of Art. Fear doesn't go away. The warrior and the artist live by the same code of necessity, which dictates that the battle must be fought anew every day. If you're a student, you might not be performing on a stage or facing down an enemy army, but your tests and exams are battles all their own, and they often come with the same feelings of anxiety. These feelings are normal, and you'll never truly banish them. If you're doing work that's important to you, you'll always feel some amount of anxiety. And that can actually be a good thing, because anxiety is an indicator that what you're doing is important. Otherwise, you'd be apathetic about it. However, too much test anxiety can hurt you. Research has shown that high-pressure situations can actually deplete your working memory. Additionally, stress caused by anxiety produces a hormone called cortisol, and too much cortisol can hinder the ability of the hippocampus to recall memories. This means that it is crucial to learn how to manage your test anxiety. You have to learn how to perform well in the face of it and make sure it doesn't consume your thoughts so you can actually solve that geometry proof that's staring you in the face. Fortunately, there are several techniques and mental exercises that you can use to do that. Roll the intro. Test anxiety is caused by many different factors, but today we're going to focus on the most common ones, which I call the 3 big fears. Number 1, a fear of repeating past failures. Number 2, the fear of the unknown. And number 3, the fear of the stakes. Now, in a minute, we're going to dig into each of these fears and work to figure out how you can combat them. But before we do that, there is one general purpose strategy that I want to share with you. The next time you feel anxious going into a test, take out a piece of paper and spend just a couple minutes writing out exactly what's causing you to feel that way. This has been scientifically proven to reduce test anxiety. A study done at the University of Chicago found that students who were given 10 minutes to write about their fears and anxieties before a test improved their scores by an average of nearly 1 grade point compared to the control group. This technique works for pretty much the same reason that using a to-do list works. It allows you to take all those worries out of your head and store them somewhere safe. You've probably been in a situation before where you're stressed and a friend tells you, hey, just don't worry about it, man. Of course, you can, right? You can't just let go of the things that are worrying you. After all, your brain thinks they're important. However, by writing them down, you're unloading those worries into an external system that you trust. Subconsciously, you know that they're not going anywhere. And by doing this, you free up mental resources that you can then devote to doing well on the test. So that brings us to our first big fear, the fear of repeating past failures. Logically, everyone knows that failure is inevitable every once in a while. To err is human, wrote Alexander Pope, and the realm of calculus finals is no exception. But we're not always logical. In fact, human beings have an inherent negativity bias, a tendency to remember and give more emotional weight to negative events rather than positive ones. And this is a feature of the brain that's pretty useful when it comes to survival. After all, remembering which mushrooms made you sick or not to try to shake hands with a tiger is pretty important for survival. But the negativity bias doesn't limit itself to poisonous mushrooms or tigers. Any negative event can create feelings of apprehension and fear when it comes up again. So even though almost everyone does poorly on tests and exams at least once in a while, when it happens to you, you might naturally fear that it'll happen again the next time around. So how do you actually beat this negativity bias? Well, first, realize that you're not defined by your past successes or failures, despite what that insidious part of your brain might try to tell you. While the path you're on right now is certainly, at least in part, a product of your past choices, it's not a path with a predetermined destination. At any time, you can choose to do things differently than you did in the past. If you're ready to do that, you need to start by analyzing your past mistakes and gathering as much information about them as you can. After all, you can only improve if you know what you were doing wrong before. Let's go to the top of it. Elite chess players understand this concept really well. While they spend a lot of their practice time playing games and studying the openings and end games of players at higher ranks, they also dedicate a ton of time to analyzing their own past games, especially the ones they lost. By doing so, they can start to correct bad habits and uncover patterns in their playing, which can then be tweaked or improved in the future. So take a cue from these chess players, as well as from elite performers in pretty much any other discipline, be it opera singers or figure skaters, and review your past exams to see how you can improve. Start by getting your hands on a copy of your past exam. If your teacher doesn't usually hand these out or let you take them home, talk to them after class and ask if you can at least look it over. And while you're talking with them, also ask for feedback, especially if your exam contains short answer or essay questions where there's no concrete answer. Once you've got a past exam in your hands, review the mistakes you made. And don't just acknowledge your mistakes. For each incorrect question, make sure you understand why your answer was the wrong one. If it was a complex problem, like a math equation, identify the exact point where you made a mistake. Additionally, make sure you know what the right answer was and why it was right. Before you move on, cross-reference the question with your notes as well. If you're going to be tested on that question again, like in a final exam, highlight that section in your notes so you know it's important. You can also create quiz questions for later review. Overall, shoot for mastery over the material so you don't make the same mistake again. Thanks, Thought Bubble. The details of those incorrect questions aren't the only things that deserve reflection. You also need to figure out why you made the mistakes in the first place. Ask yourself, was I unprepared? And if so, why was I unprepared? Did I simply not put enough time into reviewing? Did I ignore the study guide? Or did I just use an ineffective study method? If you feel that you were prepared, then maybe something went wrong during the actual exam. Maybe you rushed through it, made a lot of careless errors. Or maybe you let time get away from you and you didn't actually finish the whole exam. Or maybe that creepy AI from Ghost in the Shell hacked your brain in the middle of the exam and forced you to spend the whole time licking your paper. These things happen. Whatever the reason was, don't let it get you down too much. Remember that failure is a great teacher, and it's often a better one than success. Since we remember our failures so well, every one of them is a lesson and an opportunity. But you need to make sure that you use that opportunity by making a plan for how you avoid the mistake in the future. Just saying, I'll do better next time isn't enough. You need to know exactly how you're going to do better. And that's not all you need to know. In fact, the more you can learn about your exam in all its facets, the more comfortable with it you're going to be. This is the way to overcome the second of our big fears, the fear of the unknown. People naturally fear what they don't understand. And in general, this is a good thing. It's another one of those pieces of brain programming that's useful for survival, and most other animals share it with us. When I visited New York City for the first time several years ago, I noticed that the squirrels there seemed much less afraid of people than the squirrels back home in Iowa. But that's because these big city squirrels had a lot of experience dealing with people, and it was mostly positive. So try to gain as much experience with the upcoming exam as you can. Now, we talked a lot about how to do this in the last video on preparing for tests, but the general principle here is to try to replicate the test conditions when you're studying. Do your best to get access to practice tests and study guides, and create quizzes out of your notes to fill in the gaps. Additionally, spend some time studying in a classroom that looks and feels similar to the one you'll be tested in, and quiz yourself under the same time constraints that you'll face during the exam. You want to make that test feel like a familiar old friend when you actually face it. As Scott Birkin, a professional public speaker, put it, by the time I present to an actual audience, it's not really the first time at all. That's the feeling you're going for. And that brings us to the last of our big three fears, which is the fear of the stakes. One of the biggest sources of test anxiety is the feeling that this test means everything. It's going to define your overall grade, where you'll be able to go to college, and whether or not you'll get to work for Elon Musk someday. But in reality, you're rarely going to come across a test or a situation that you can't recover from in the case that things go wrong. Trust me, I actually failed a test in college once, and Nick over there actually failed an entire class, twice. And even worse, I was once fired from a job. In both cases, it was totally my fault. But I learned my lessons, I made sure I never made the same mistakes again, and I moved on. And even if things don't go perfectly for you, you'll be able to do the exact same thing. And if that's not comforting enough, try reframing the test in your mind. Think of it as yet another learning opportunity rather than as a judgment. After all, a test challenges you to recall what you've learned, and as we've already discussed, active recall strengthens your mastery over the material. And at least for me, viewing a test this way makes it seem a lot less scary. Lastly, keep in your mind that anxiety isn't something you always need to try to deal with on your own. If you have anxiety that's majorly affecting your life, don't hesitate to ask a professional for help. Hopefully you found this week's video to be helpful. Next week, we'll be switching gears and talking about how to write great research papers and essays. See you then. Crash Course Study Skills is filmed in the Dr. Cheryl C. Kinney Crash Course Studio in Missoula, Montana. And it's made with
All right, so that video was very useful for me when I was actually seeing it. I just want to kind of bring some people in and kind of see what were the biggest things that y'all got from the video about test anxiety and the ways to deal with it. Anyone? Test anxiety.
I guess I could go first.
Thank you.
A great way to deal with it is just to not do it alone, to talk to people and use your resources, to not procrastinate because that will make it worse.
Cool. Thank you. Who's that, Chelsea?
Yes, Chelsea.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that was kind of some of the biggest things one of the biggest things that I got from it is that you're not alone in this. Use your resources. There's nothing wrong with, you don't have to go on this journey by yourself or anything like that. Just know that you have a lot of people at the university, you know, us at the Gator Success Center. I'm always going to put on for Gator Success Center. We're here to help you. So make sure that you kind of reach out to us for help. You know, anxiety is real. The testing and fears and everything, it truly is real. And just know that you're not alone in this journey. Reach out to someone, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out with someone. It actually will make you a little bit better and help you when you're preparing for your exams, and you'll be a better student for them. Thank you for sharing, Chelsea. I really appreciate it. Anybody else want to share about what they got from the video?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I learned about the fear of the unknown, like taking like notes and then using them to take like your own quizzes and filling out the blanks it for like to help you memorize things and help you learn. So like in case you failed the first time, you can try again the second time.
Cool. Self-testing is, thank you so much, Nancy, for that. Like, self-testing is a big thing that helps people. And I think I wish I would have done that a little bit more about like doing my own little self-test. Like I would just try to study for stuff and just try to memorize and cram, but no, test yourself as well. I think another big thing that I kind of got from it is, saying that, failure is not the end all be all, right? It's like one of the biggest teachers. And we don't want you to fail your classes. Don't get me when I'm saying that. But no, you learn a lot more if you happen not to do well on an exam or an assignment, right? That whenever you get your assignment back from your professor, you can actually take that back and, sit down with your professor and be like, well, I just need a little bit more clarification on as to why I didn't do well. Now, if you didn't study for the exam, you know why you didn't do well. So that's not a good scenario. But no, if you really took your time to study for the test and everything, and you can see kind of like that professors took off some points here and there, get that clarification from them and kind of go ahead and talk to them and be like, hey, I was struggling in this area. Can you tell me a little bit more about what I can do better on this exam to do better for future assignments? Biggest thing, like failure is one of the biggest teachers, right? It's not the end all be all. It's really just the beginning. Michelle, were you about to add something?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, I used to have really bad test anxiety. When I would sit down to take a test, like the day of, I would be like, continuing like studying. And then when I would get in the room, I would be like, my mind would be rushing like so fast that I wouldn't even know what is what. And so what I did to kind of combat that is on the day of the test, I would just take it so easy. I would just like have my good breakfast, just like relaxing, like just like trying to not even like look at an exam or like a study guide at all. And so I would see people like, in the classroom trying to look at their notes, and I'm just like, I got this.
Definitely, you got this.
And then like it would just kind of help me to like be more at like a calm state and not so anxious. And so that really helped me.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? I think we have something here in the chat, and the chat basically says it's okay to fail, that it's inevitable, but continue to work hard. Thank you, Natalie, for saying
Yeah,
that.
I would like to continue from that.
Please.
I know that sometimes, like me being a freshman, I can like at times when I fail, like that one test I failed recently and all the other tests I passed, I like put myself down for that. But I realized I just have to reflect and just work harder next time and see what I did on that test to like just improve.
Cool. No, definitely. I think that you hit the nail right on the head. Like it's inevitable, for if you're gonna have setbacks in life, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But just continue to work hard, continue to push through. We've always said like hard work pays off. It definitely does. It's just like when you're studying, it's like a muscle, right? If it's you have your physical muscles and everything, and you're really working them out, and you start to get stronger and stuff. Same thing with studying, and same thing with your brain and the way that you kind of study. It only gets better. The sky's the limit. It only gets better from here. Does anybody else have anything else before we go back to our next section that I want to go ahead and complete? Anybody else? All right. Let's go ahead and continue with what we were talking about, right? So we were talking about test anxiety. Let's move on and talk about using your time wisely, right? You want to make sure that you prepare materials before the test. So making sure that you turn off your phone, make sure that you have your calculator, any kind of like pen, scratch paper, all those types of things. Make sure as soon as the test starts that you do a memory dump. Okay, what was it that I actually studied for these weeks or a week before this exam, right? And you want to make sure that you're reading instructions carefully, right? That if it says do not write on the exam, you don't want to write on the exam. Make sure that one of the first things that you do is that you read the instructions carefully so you know exactly how you can take the test correctly, right? Quickly scan the test and plan how you will use your allotted time, and plan to finish early so that you can have time to review. Do not spend 20, 30 minutes on one question when you know that you have 100 questions in the exam, right? Use your time wisely and divvy up that time. I'm not saying to go ahead and just speed through the exam, but make sure that you kind of have some time at the end of the exam that you can go back and review the things that you've already studied. You know that, oh, okay, well, I went back to question 16 and that's not the right answer. I don't know why I put that. Let me erase that and put the right thing. Use your time wisely in that regard, right? During the exam, like I said, make sure that you read the instructions and directions carefully, that you calmly scan the entire test, that you jot down ideas. Answer the easy questions first. If you already know the information on some of them questions, just knock them bad boys out. You'll do well. It happens if you happen to panic or go blank, stop, relax, breathe, and then just reassess the whole thing, right? And you want to try to answer every question. And as we said earlier, if you finish early, make sure that you check your answers, right? We're human, it happens. Answer essay questions that you want to exam time. Like we said, read your entire questions. We're going to keep saying that. Actively read the entire question. Develop an outline before writing. Write concise, organized answers, and know key task words for answering essay questions, right? Know exactly what they're asking for. And if you're going to write an essay or short answer or something, make sure that you're actively answering the question the way that it says, right? So if it says, let's talk about the history of the civil rights movement, and you start talking about No Child Left Behind, you went way off of the topic. Stick with what the question is asking and stay on task, and make sure that you're writing concise, organized answers when you're talking and using the essay questions, right? So what you studied, what is on, okay, I cannot read. When what you studied and what is on the test doesn't match, don't just memorize, right? You want to make sure that you create and use information to create something new, that you're evaluating, analyzing, applying, and understanding, and remembering the things that you've already talked about and kind of studied before the exam. Huge information on this, talking about identifying, comparing, arguing, and assessing different questions during the exam. You want to make sure that the questions which ask for short, direct answers usually don't require full developed essays. You want to ask yourself, what is the idea or concept, and what does this mean? What are the main characteristics, right? When it's saying something about explaining, this essay basically, which requires essays, are fully thought out and developed as in much detail as you have time for. So ask yourself, what is the case and what are the main points? When you have a test that says compare, this basically requires an analysis, which emphasizes similarities, differences, and connections between different ideas or concepts. So you need to ask yourself, what are the similarities? What are the differences? When you're having an answer, or you have something that says argue, this basically requires that you take a position on an issue, defend your argument against reasonable alternatives. And at this time, you need to ask yourself what is correct and what isn't true. And last thing, if you have an exam that has something to ask you to assess something, this basically involves describing acceptable criteria and defending a judgment on the issue or idea or question involved. So you need to ask yourself, what does this idea mean? Why is it important? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses, right? These are all different types of forms of essays that you may have, that you may encounter. Come on, computer. So for multiple choice tests, like that's probably like the common things that we kind of see on a day-to-day basis or a time when we're taking exams, that for multiple choice questions, you want to take advantage of cues, right? Suspect words, always, never, and only. You want to make sure that you're reviewing surrounding answers, predict answers before reviewing your choices, and return to confusing questions later. If you're stuck on an exam or something, or you're stuck on a question or anything like that, make sure that you go back and, try to go back and answer the questions that you kind of confused on. There's nothing wrong with being confused, but we don't want the entire test to be, you confused on that. Go back and answer those questions that you have confusion on later, right? So there's symptoms of text anxiety, right? Butterflies, nausea, queasiness. I think we kind of discussed that within the video. You maybe have a mild to severe headache and an increased heart rate. There's hyperventilation, muscle cramps, shaking, sweating, and going blank. test anxiety is really real, right? And we want you all to overcome that. It's real. And as the video said, and I think Natalie or someone else probably said earlier, you know, it is a real thing and failure is a real thing, but also use your resources. I think Chelsea probably said that earlier. Use your resources, reach out to someone, and, you know, you don't have to go through it alone, but try to overcome this in the best way possible and do what method works for you. Everybody is different, and test anxiety is real. There's nothing wrong with it. We're all human. Strategies for dealing with test anxiety: make sure that you stretch, sit well, create positive mental messages, those affirmations. You got this. You're killing it. You're beautiful. You know, I'm gonna go get me some Chick-fil-A after this. I'm gonna reward you. You know, keep that confidence high. Make sure that you're practicing taking an exam before the actual exam, and make sure that you're sitting at a table with a blank page, and remember what. Write down what you remember. Right, how to begin a math problem. Write down like the formulas and things of how you need to study. But make sure that you're keeping your confidence high. Paloma, did you want to say something? Or okay, I'll just say that her.
No, I just joined. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was able to catch up with the workshop today. Thank you.
Oh, you're good. No, you're good. So remember, guys, you got this. You want to make sure that you try a power pose, create a playlist to psych you up and do a positive self-talk. If you need to listen to 21 Savage, Usher, or John Legend, or some type of music, BTS, or Dua Lipa or something, use like a playlist to kind of psych you up and give yourself a positive mindset to be able to go into an exam. Make sure that you're also arriving early so you can take your exam and get focused on the test. I know that we're in a virtual capacity, but trust me, if the exam, however if they say that they need you to be on Zoom at 10 o'clock, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting there at 9:50. You want to make sure that you arrive on time. Whatever the ways that they kind of give you to take the exam, make sure that you do that. And make sure that you have a positive attitude, because it goes a long way, right? Having that positive environment, that mindset will put you in a positive space to make sure that you know that you can conquer that exam. Like, failure is not the end all be all, but trust me, if you prepare properly, if you talk to someone, if you teach the materials to others, if you utilize your resources, trust and believe, you got this, right? As we said, your resources that you can also use that people have talked about is Quizlet. We have Study Blue. We also have our UHD tutoring centers. We have our SIs, our writing centers, and of course, the one and only most prestigious Gator Success Center at University of Houston downtown. That kind of concludes it for the presentation right now. What we're gonna have is some open discussion, talking about different strategies in testing. Is there anything that anybody would like to add while we're on here, while we're talking about test strategies and positive affirmations or anything like that, or some positive things that they have done to help them do well in their classes?
I sort of do something where I'm like treating myself after a test, you know? I'm like, okay, this test, probably I did good or probably did really bad in, but still, I'm gonna treat myself afterwards. Not just buying or just like treating myself like going out for a run or like dancing, playing soccer,
Yeah.
that type of stuff.
I think that self-care is the best care. And I think in our last workshop, I think Dr. Caesar and a couple other people say like the best thing that they kind of do, and Michelle was like, go and shop. Like, that's their way of like self-care. Trust me, I'm guilty of this. I just went on Amazon during Prime Day and got a bunch of stuff. And these glasses, they come from Amazon, guys. These are $10. You can go on Amazon if you want to go get you a pair. But anyway, no, self-care is the best care, right? You want to prepare. I mean, you want to kind of treat yourself, right? Especially if you've had a hard time through the exam. It's a great way to be like, you know what? It didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but you know what? I can kind of do this. Let me go ahead and treat myself for that, positive or negative. So no, thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? Come on, Dwayne Glasses. Y'all know Different World. Come on. Y'all better know Different World. That's awesome. Yes. Anybody else would like to share about anything that we talked about with test taking strategies or things to kind of help them in their exams?
Yeah, I found that I would rather thoroughly learn things while we're learning them rather than do it later.
Definitely.
That's why I always tell my students, I'm like, pay attention in class. The more you pay attention in class, the less you're going to have to try so hard to study later on. So if it's just a regular day and there's something I didn't really understand, I'll take the time to learn it really, really thoroughly, because I'm like, okay, I'd rather just go through it now than try to understand it last minute.
No,
So I feel like the more you pay attention on a daily basis, is easier for you to just not have to study so hard later.
absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else?
Can I add to that as well? Um, so some students can actually review on their own, like Karen is saying, and try to fill in the gaps, right? The
Mhm.
areas that they don't understand. However, if you cannot do it on your own, just keep in mind that you have professors and other resources that we mentioned in the workshop that can also assist you in finding that area that is that gray area so that you could completely understand it. And yes, if you pay attention, you will find that you will understand a little bit better than if you go to class and you know that how your memory works and you don't pay attention, or at least interesting, get yourself interested in the area that you're studying so that you're going to remember some of the main points. That's
Yeah,
also important for you when you're studying.
definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Caesar. I think that that's really profound and a great way for people to kind of do well.
Mhm.
And anybody else?
I had one actually that I remember I used to use a lot, and it used to really help me. I would always draw out all the graphs or the charts that would be in the textbooks, because for some reason
Mhm.
I always noticed that professors like to test off of those things. And so the night before, I would try to see if I can draw out the graphs and stuff by memory. And then on the day of the test, like as soon as the test started, the first thing I would do is I would write down everything that I memorized down, so that whenever I was reading a question, I wouldn't get confused. Like, wait, was that this or was that that?
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
just look at
That's
my what I had already, just threw on the paper from memory
that's true. Right.
to answer all my questions, and that really helped me.
Definitely, definitely. Brittany Brown, thank you, Michelle, for sharing. Brittany Brown says, because her mic isn't working, we got you. It says, but I believe it is beneficial to study in advance and participate, host a study group to help retain information. Yes, two heads are better than one, and 3 and 4 are definitely better than 2. So definitely
Right.
hosting a study group, having that different participation in lectures will definitely help you in your exams. So we're really, I think that that's all great strategies
Right.
for us to do well in the exams and everything.
And
Mary,
remember,
go ahead, Dr. Caesar.
sorry. And remember, if you're trying to learn something or at least remember it or recall the information, teaching it to somebody else is the best way.
Definitely.
Because especially if both of you are trying together to understand it fully so that you can test yourself and be successful, teaching somebody else, man, that's the top of the line. You remember those things because you write that down and then you recall the information, and everything seems like if the memory is working, quick recall method. So I think that's a great example as well.
Thank you. I think that Mary Kate also said something within the chat. She says, don't be afraid to ask questions. The A Game, written by Kenny J. Sufka, has a section in there talking about when lost, ask questions. You all are students at the university, and trust me, if you are stuck on anything, it does not matter what it is. Even if it's during the lecture or afterwards, you need to send your professor a quick email. Make sure that you ask those questions, right? You want to make sure that you're going well prepared into your exam with all of the wealth and knowledge that you have from your prior lectures. So make sure that you ask those questions, get any kind of clarification that you need. And if the professor is not available at that point in time, and you know that there's a classmate that knows the information, reach out to them. Definitely. Thank you, Natalie, for put on there. I think someone also said that a great resource is making sure that you go to YouTube. YouTube also has different study habits and different skills that you can utilize. Brenda also says that one of professors highly recommended is to watch the lectures days before the class. So when the day of the class came, we could already be a step ahead. So yeah, definitely do those things. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So make sure you prepare way in advance for that. So thank you for sharing that, Brenda. Natalie also says she watches rewatch Zoom lectures. Yeah, definitely do those types of things. Rewatch them so they become second nature. And Chelsea says that her Kim professor tells them to review the slides before and after the lecture. So these are all good preparation skills for you to do well in exam. Is there anybody else that would like to share anything? We're rounding about our last 12 minutes of the workshop and just want to kind of give y'all some information about the upcoming weeks through the Gator Success Center. Christina also says that she shares notes with peers to see their different point of views. That is a great strategy. Let me tell you something. My notes, like, I don't want to show y'all my handwriting, but my handwriting isn't the best. It's kind of bad, right? But I have notes and everything. But the way that I kind of interpreted a lecture and somebody else could be completely different. So when we put our notes together, be like, oh man, this dude was talking about a cube instead of a square type thing. So like those types of things, right? So compare notes with your people in classes. Trust me, it's beneficial for that. Not only will you do well in the class, but hey, you're making a friend, killing two birds with one stone. Our peer mentor, senior peer mentor, Paloma, says that, yes, I entered the workshop late. So I don't know. She didn't know that if this was already mentioned, but the supplement instructors also conduct study sessions for particular courses. So please be on the lookout for that. So yes, reach out to the supplement instructors, look at the different things that they're doing for the different study sessions. Our peer mentors, they host different types of meetings as well. So if they are going to put, if y'all need like some tips, some strategies, not from from the full-time staff, you could definitely go ahead and hit up our peer mentors that are willing and ready to help you in your exams. And thank you, Paloma, for sharing that. SIs do that as well. Anybody else would like to share? I just want to really let this kind of be like a encouraging type of thing. Kimberly says, my sociology professor says, read the chapter first and then read the lecture slides and video, then reread the chapter again. So yes, that goes all into the preparation and everything. It's about repetition and consistency.
Right. Mm-hmm. And remember last session, I think when you showed that short video, that's the SQ3R method. So that's a very, 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 that's the method that I use. Definitely. Helpful strategy for me as well.
Definitely. So, it really helps. Thank you for sharing that, Kimberly. But no, like I was saying, I really want this to be an encouraging type of, for the team wanted this to be a very encouraging type of thing, because we've had many different students that have encountered and come to us at the Gator Success Center and have went through so much, in spite of the pandemic, that type of stress, and then having stress when coming to exams. And like we said, anxiety during testing is real. But there are some ways to overcome those types of things, right? So we want you all to learn, and kind of, if you happen to make a mistake, don't stay in the mud too long. If you fall off the horse, get back on and dust yourself off and try again. RIP Aaliyah. But make sure that y'all do the things that y'all need to do to be successful within your exam, and trust and believe you're going to do very well in your exams. Brenda also says that another thing that I have learned along the way is that we usually only study certain things for a test, but in reality, we need to fully understand it to do better. So yeah, if we're talking about apples, and it's just if the class is about fruit and the chapter is just on apples, but you start to see on the exam there's apple, oranges, grapes, and everything like that. Don't just study apples. Get the entire understanding of the entire lecture and the whole. Just understand the material, all of the material. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, anybody else would like to add anything? We're closing out in our last 9 minutes, and I really like to reserve these discussions. These discussions are so helpful to us, because it's giving us a different point of view of where you are as students, and we could try to help everyone to get on the same page. Just want to let y'all know, if I can pull this up, and I hope I do this correctly because my stuff has been acting up, that we have today is October 23rd, and guys, we only have 4 more workshops, 4. And our next one is going to be next week on October 27th in the year of our Lord 2020 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And we're going to be talking to professors. Everything that we talked about with our workshops go hand in hand. So, we've had study skills, we've had our test taking strategies. Now we're going to talk about, like, how do we talk to our professors? What's proper etiquette? Do we say, hey, what's up, Dr. such and such, or hello, good evening? These are the type of things about talking to your professors, proper etiquette. And, when is the proper time to ask questions for our professors when we're taking exams and getting clarification in our class. So we really want you to join us on October 27th, 2020 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. where we're going to be discussing how to talk to your professors. It's a very insightful workshop, and we want you to join us. And as always, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, correct me, Dr. Caesar. Anybody that has participated in our workshop on today, we are still giving those gift cards out, guys. We've given out
Correct.
our gift cards to Starbucks, and we really want you all to get those things. So please, as confirmation, please send me an email at holidayj@uhd.edu and let me know that you came to our workshop and that you kind of enjoyed it. You know, we get our feedback from you and it helps us to do better things. So please give me your first and last name. You're also your student ID number for our gift cards so that we can give them to you. And please, guys, if you've already have been to a workshop and you have not come by the Gator Success Center to pick up those gift cards, please pick up the gift cards. We want you to come by and pick them up. We will have a staff member there from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, to help you to get those gift cards. It's easy. Stop by to the Gator Success Center on the 3rd floor in the one main building. We're right kind of close to financial aid. And if you see academic advising, you went too far. Come on back down the hall. We're right there on the corner, right? So please see us from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you entered the workshop late, that's cool. You're still with us, right? So please go send me an email, whoever is 832-526 or 256, you know, the last one, 2766. Cool, we're all family. Send me an email, holidayj@uhd.edu. and give me your first and last name, and we'll be able to get you hooked up with a Starbucks gift card. Trust me, it's good.
And for peer mentors, I think we have a couple of peer mentors here today. Remind your mentees that we want them to complete the semester with a GPA of 2.0 or better, because they have that Be on Time grant that they qualify for. So if they have to put in some more effort into doing well, or they think that they're not doing too well in an exam or in a subject area, reach out to SIs, reach out to our department, because we know we have a lot of resources available for those students to be successful.
Thank you, Dr. Caesar. You know, we're giving you these gift cards and stuff in our workshops, but come on now, who wouldn't want $2,000 in academic semester? You know, a gift card, you know, it's good. You're going to get your gift, you know, your Starbucks, you know, that one time, but then, you know, having that money to help you with your books, your classes, and put money in your pocket. Come on now. Be on Time grant is a great opportunity for all of our students to get funding and money in their pockets. So please, 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 please shoot for the stars and have a great GPA this semester with a 2.0 or higher, so that you can be eligible for the Be on Time grant. It's $1,000 a semester, complete 24 hours at the university, 12 hours a semester. Trust and believe that money will be yours. But yes, please invite your family, your friends, mainly your friends if you want to our next workshop on October 27th, 2020 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Where we'll be talking about talking to our professors. Is there any last words that we want to have for from our academic success coaches? Dr. Caesar, they asked about the Be on Time grant.
So the Be on Time grant is offered after your first year. So that means you have to complete a minimum of 24 credit hours with a GPA of 2.0 or higher, and we will send you the information. Like last week, there were some peer mentors who wrote to me about, wait a minute, I didn't receive mine. I did my magic, send their names forward to the financial aid office, and within a week, they were given their Be on Time grant. Wow. So if you qualify by completing 24 credit hours with a GPA of 2.0 or better, you are guaranteed to get the Be on Time grant every year up to 5 years. But every year, you must complete 24 credit hours with a CO better. No repeating of classes. If you repeat the course, then it doesn't count into your 12 credit hours, because you have already gotten, let's say some students, they take the course and they get a C, and they retake the course and they get an A, but retaking that course is, that same course that they are repeating is it along with their 12 credit hours, part of their 12 credit hours, then they have only really done 9. So be careful, always reach out to me and anyone in my office, and we'll be able to give you information on that, okay? It doesn't happen often, but it does.
I'm telling you, Brittany, and thank you for saying that you weren't aware. But trust and believe, a lot of students at the university do not know about the Beyond
Right.
Time grant, and our center specializes in giving this to those to our Gators who are doing well in their classes. So please go ahead, make sure that you're in good academic standing this semester, next semester, 12 hours per semester, $2,000 in your pocket up to 5 years. Come on, y'all, 10 grand, 10. Come on, y'all. That's amazing. You know,
I didn't get that when I was in college, so
I'm
that would have
I
been
did
very
that.
helpful.
I'm still paying stuff back, but you know, I'm just letting y'all know, but it's good. 24 credits is at like 5 classes per semester. So what we want you 24 credit hours will be
An average of 4 courses a semester.
mhm. So 4 classes a semester, 3 hours
Yes.
so 12 in the fall, 12 in the spring, about 24 credit hours. Yeah.
Right.
Like we said, you know, our next workshop is on next week on October 27th. Bring a friend. You know, I've seen Kimberly. She has been faithful. Thank you so much for that. But anybody that's here for the first time, cool. Let your friends know about our workshops and the things that we're giving. We're trying to make sure that you get all these incentives to join us. You know, it's not just about getting knowledge in your classes. We want to help you out as well. So please, if you haven't already followed us on our social media pages, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at uhd.gsc. So uhd.gsc for all of our latest updates and everything that we got going on this semester. Is there anything else that our staff would like to say before we close out? We got less than a minute.
I just want to say thank you everybody for coming. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I hope that y'all have a great next test.
I would also like to add, even if your mentees did not attend, then refer them to our website, because I know that Jason is putting these webinars on our website and our YouTube channel, so that they can go back in the comfort of their home and review this, and then reach out to us if they want clarity on any points that they heard during the workshop. I want you to have a safe weekend. Be safe, practice social distancing, and as Mr. Holiday said, this coronavirus is real, and I really appreciate you giving us those tips at the beginning, because sometimes we let our guards down and we don't want to do that. For those of you who heard the news, the hospitals are again getting a lot of cases between the age of 19 and 30 years old. And I think that's all of you guys in here except me. So be careful and be safe out there, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. I really want to give a huge shout out to our peer mentors, Karen Valdez, Paloma Villarreal Banda, and also Mr. Riley Owens for participating and bringing our participants on today. It means a lot, means the world for you all going above and beyond and setting the example for our center. Thank y'all so much for the things that y'all do on a day-to-day basis. Again, guys, this has been our workshop on today. And if you have not already, please send me that email to holidayj@uhd.edu. I'm going to put it in one last time so that and
go vote. Karen, that's very I like that note that you put there, very helpful. And please vote. And for those of you who haven't voted yet or who can vote, practice your rights to vote. I have already voted. I voted on the first day, October 15th, I believe.
Oh yeah, first day. I was out there. Yes. I got my voted sticker. It's actually in the car. Oh, hold on. I got an actual. Well, I have a sign. I have a huge sign that says "Go vote." But anyway, please go exercise your right to vote, everyone. You all have a blessed weekend. Send me the email holidayj@uhd.edu. Again, this has been one of our workshops talking about test taking strategies. The next one next week, we'll be talking about talking to your professors. Hope y'all have a blessed week, and thank y'all so much for coming out. Take care. See y'all the next time.
Go Gators.
Go Gators. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.